Welcome back to the channel, where we rip apart the lies of the toxic mind and drag the brutal truth out from behind the mask. Music. Today we're looking at the invoice, the final bill, sitting quietly on the kitchen table of every aging somatic narcissist. For decades, they lived like the rules of emotional gravity didn't apply to them. They treated lust like an endless credit card, swiping bodies, hearts, and souls to buy short music hits of feeling superior. But now the bill is due, and the price is far higher than they ever believed it would be. Today, we're breaking down why the so-called free sex and endless music conquests have turned them into some of the most miserable people walking this earth. You remember them in their prime. When they walked into a room, the whole atmosphere changed. They were the hunters, the seducers, the ones who believed they could take anyone they wanted with a single look. They used that sexual power to weaponize your insecurity, making you feel lucky just to be picked. They pushed you to compete for their attention, triangulating you with strangers, exes, and even completely imagined rivals. They sold you the lie that their wandering eye proved how valuable they were. But time is the great equalizer, and it strips the narcissist of their only real shield, their looks. Picture someone, music, whose entire identity is built on being wanted. Now imagine that same person becoming invisible. This is the private hell of the aging narcissist. They walk down the street and music, no heads turn. They smile at a stranger, and instead of flirtation, they get music, a polite nod meant for the elderly. That silence is loud. It tells them their currency, their physical appeal, has crashed. They're living through an ego stock market crash with no backup fund of music character to lean on, and they cannot handle it. The pain they feel is sharp and exact. It's the agony of an addict who can't find a vein anymore. Their real addiction was never sex itself. It was the hit of validation that came from conquest. Now that system is broken, rusted by age, softened by time. They're stuck in a permanent, brutal withdrawal. They grow angry, bitter, and hollow, and they lash out at a world that has dared to stop clapping for them. They cling to the act, and it is painful to watch. You see them wearing clothes that are 3 decades too, young dyeing their hair until it looks like shoe polish, using slang that sounds ridiculous coming out of music their mouths. They're desperately shouting, "I'm still relevant," but the world sees a joke. The cool guy has turned into the creepy old man. The femme fatale has turned into the desperate matriarch. They have become the very people they used to laugh at. The cost of all that lust is music, isolation, because they treated every interaction like a business deal. What can your body do for my ego? They never built real closeness. Their phone is full of hundreds of contacts, and not one person who truly knows their soul. When sickness hits, who actually shows up? The one-night stands are gone. The affair partners have moved on. They're left alone in a house full of mirrors, forced to look at the slow rot of the only thing they ever truly loved, themselves. You might wonder if they ever sit with what they've done. Do they regret music, the betrayals, the broken homes, the lives they blew up? The answer is cold. No. They regret getting old. They regret that the game is over. Their misery doesn't come from a guilty conscience. It comes from entitlement. They believed they were owed endless youth and music nonstop admiration. Aging, to them, isn't just biology. It's an insult handed down by a cruel universe. In their own mind, they are victims of time. This is where the rage music lights up. The aging narcissist turns into a pot of simmering music anger. They hate the young for having what they lost. They hate their partners if they kept them for music witnessing the fall. Deep down, they despise themselves, though they'd never say it out loud. That poison leaks into every conversation. They become the bitter, critical, impossible elder who ruins every family gathering. They want everyone else to hurt too. Not because misery loves company, but because the narcissist music insists on it. Yeah, survivors often ask, are they happier with the new supply? Let me be clear. If they manage to grab new supply in their later years, that bond is built on pressure and trade. They're paying for it, either with money or with favors. They're rebuying companionship because they can no longer pull it in naturally, and they hate every second of that fact. Having to pay for what once came free reminds them every day how powerless they have become. We're about to break down the anatomy of this PU. Collapse, the biological panic, the social self-destruction, and the final lonely ending of a life lived without. You don't need to watch this to feel sorry for them. You need to watch it to see that FUN, justice has already arrived. You didn't need revenge, you only needed time. The price of their lust was their soul. And now life's collection agency is here to take the house back. To music get their torment, you have to understand the somatic mindset. For this, Patan the somatic mindset. For this, it's their temple, their weapon, their bank. They poured everything into the outside, ignoring thinking, empathy, and inner growth so they could worship abs, hair, and sexual power. When age shows up, it's a kind of biological bankruptcy. Their assets are frozen. They're stuck with a body that keeps losing value, and music demands more and more upkeep for less and less payoff. This creates a deep kind of reverse body dysmorphia. They refuse reality. In the mirror, they hallucinate their younger, sexy old self. But out in the world, people treat them like a loser, and it cracks they can't line up their inner picture of a god with the outside truth of a mortal. Aging music. Human. They feel like a dethroned king thrown into the gutter, still clutching an invisible crown. Their sex drive often stays high, and that's part of the punishment. The natural hunger for sex music is still there, but the ability to get high-quality supply is gone. This is torture designed perfectly for them. They're starving at a banquet where they're no longer allowed to eat. That frustration twists into music perversion and reckless choices. They slide into darker corners of the internet, paid music encounters, or creepy advances toward painfully young targets. Anything to light up the illusion of their old power, okay? We also have to look at the dopamine crash. For years, the predator in hits. The secrecy, the lies, the seduction. Now the chase is over, and their brain lives in a music constant dopamine deficit. They slide into anhedonia, the state where you can't feel joy from normal life. A sunset means nothing. A grandchild's laughter means nothing. A good meal means the objectification they put on other people turns back on them. They train themselves to believe music that human worth is only about the body. Now, by their own rules, they are worthless. They judge themselves with the same harsh, shallow standards they once used on you. They hate their music wrinkles. They are disgusted by their own weakness. They're locked in a cage with their cruelest critic, their own internal, shallow voice. This is why you see the frantic medical fixes. Plastic surgery, hair transplants, endless pills, and supplements. They're trying to fix the Titanic with chewing gum. The result looks strange and desperate. It sends one message loudly. They are terrified of death. A mentally healthy adult accepts aging with some dignity. A narcissist goes to war with it, using a scalpel, cutting their insecurity into their own body for everyone to see. The emptiness becomes impossible to hide. In their younger years, had the noise of their sex life covered up the echo of their emptiness. There was always a message to answer, a date to set up, a lie to manage. Now the noise is gone. The silence makes it obvious that no one is really home. They have no hobbies, because hobbies take real interest. They have no wisdom because wisdom takes self-reflection. They are painfully bored by their own company. They become storytellers of their so-called glory days, trapping anyone who will listen to blown-up stories about sexual exploits from decades ago. It's sad. They're trying to prove they once mattered because they know they don't now. They're ghosts haunting their own history, refusing to live in the present because the fear of being irrelevant is increasing their deepest terror. For a narcissist, being hated is better than being ignored. But aging brings indifference. Society doesn't rage at the elderly. It just looks past them. That indifference feels like a slow execution. So they stir up attention music any way they can. Fake health scares, family drama, nonstop conflict. Music negative attention becomes the last form of supply they can still pull. This whole chapter shows you their lifestyle was a Ponzi scheme. They borrowed happiness from the future to pay for pleasure in the past. Now the scheme has crashed. There are no new investors. The vault is empty. They're standing there holding dust, confused about why no one music wants what they're selling anymore. Okay, the real turning point comes when they move from being dangerous to just being annoying. Once they could wreck hearts, now they only irritate people. The power balance flips. They aren't the ones discarding music people anymore. Society is discarding them. The waiter ignores them. The cashier hurries them along. Potential partners swipe past without music a second thought. They fade into background noise. This triggers a narcissistic injury that never really heals. They lash out. They become music litigious, hostile, demanding. They yell at service workers. They send angry emails, letters, and complaints. They're trying to claw back dominance in a world that no longer fears them. They look like a toothless lion roaring at the wind, loud but not deadly. The era of so-called free sex ends. The pay-to-play era starts. This is deeply humiliating for them. They see that pass. Intimacy now comes with a price tag. Maybe they date someone who is clearly only after their pension, or they clearly only after their pension. The trade is obvious. They can't lie to themselves that it's desire or love. It's business and music. They're the fool in the deal. Okay, this is when they start hoovering the graveyard. They reach out to you, the ex from 10 or 20 years ago. The thinking of you text pops up. They're not actually thinking of you. They're scrolling through a list of former targets, looking music for anyone who hasn't blocked them yet. They hope you're lonely or nostalgic enough to crack the door back open. When you don't reply, it crushes them. It proves they are being erased. They also become easy targets for romance scams. The hunter turns into the prey. Desperate for validation, they believe the online stranger who says they love them. They want the fantasy so badly that they ignore every music red flag. They lose retirement savings to bots and scammers, all because their ego can't accept that youth and beauty do not want a bitter narcissist. Their envy of younger people twists into sabotage. If they have kids, they start competing with them. A narcissistic mother might dress her daughter or flirt with her daughter's partner. A narcissistic father might tear down his son's achievements. It's ugly. They cannot stand the idea of the torch being passed. If they can't carry that torch, they want to blow it out. They would rather burn their own legacy than accept they are no longer the center of the room. Yeah, their secret life becomes harder and harder to hide. As their thinking slips, they get sloppy. Phones stay unlocked. Browsing history doesn't get clear. Read. The darkness of their inner world is laid bare to family members. The shame of that reveal is crushing. The so-called dignified elder mask falls off, and underneath you see the addicted, compulsive pervert. They lose what they crave most: respect. They shift into resource guarding because Charm doesn't work anymore. Money becomes their weapon. They threaten to cut people out of the will. They hold assets over their children's heads. If you don't come see me, you get nothing. It's their peace final, desperate grab for control. They know you're not there by choice. So they tell themselves they have to buy your presence. The grumpy tyrant role hardens. They know they can't music be loved, so they settle for being feared or at least dreaded. Every holiday gets poisoned. The conversation is stupid. They suck the life out of the room. This is self-protection. If they reject everything first, you can't reject them. They fire everyone in advance before they can be left. The breaking point comes when they realize they are alone in a full room. Family might be there out of duty, but there is no warmth. The narcissist feels that cold. They see the shared music looks when they start talking. They know they are being put up with, not loved. And for a narcissist, being simply tolerated feels worse than death. Then comes music total collapse. The empire they built on seduction and lies falls apart. The first pillar to go is usually health. When ACB, narcissist, gets sick, they make terrible patients. Illness means imperfection, a crack in their fake invincibility. They rage against getting weaker. Music, they abuse nurses, ignore doctors, and demand special rules that don't exist. The idea of death terrifies them because they have no real spiritual base. Their social circle disappears. Those people were never true friends. Those people were never true friends. They're gone now, dead, moved on, or just worn out by the drama. The narcissist has no loyal allies because they were never loyal to anyone. They sit in music, silence, staring at a phone that never rings. A financial collapse, often music, follows. The cost of lust is high. A spending on image, affairs, divorces, and indulgences left them with no plan for old age. They assumed there would always be someone else to live off. Now they face a fixed income and habits they can't afford. The poverty isn't just about money, it's a poverty of dignity. They turn into the worst kind of energy vampire. If they trap a listener, a caregiver, a neighbor, a stuck relative, they talk about themselves without stopping. They drain everyone around them with complaints, gossip, and constant rewriting of music history. They need noise to prove to themselves they still exist. People start avoiding them. Neighbors cross the street when they see them coming. Their smear campaigns lose all power. Now no one cares about music, a bitter old person ranting about an ex from decades back. Their cruelty looks sad, not scary. Their credibility's gone. People see a hurt, angry person, and the lies don't stick anymore. The weapon that once controlled you has rusted shut. They are haunted by what-ifs, but only selfish ones. Not, what if I had been kinder? But what if I had been kinder? But what if I had been kinder? What if I hadn't been caught? They obsess. They replay every divorce in their mind, convinced they were cheated, never seeing that they were the thief. Oh, music them. The final discard is death. But before that comes abandonment by family. Adult children go no contact. Grandchildren are kept away. The narcissist is music left in a care facility or an empty apartment. This is not cruelty. It's survival for the people who got out. A narcissist calls it abandonment, refusing to admit the decades of damage that led to this isolation turns into paranoia. Alone and furious, they start to believe the whole world is plotting against them. They decide the nurses are stealing from them. They tell themselves their children are just waiting for them to die. After a lifetime of throwing their own malice onto everyone else, they now assume that same malice is coming for them. They live locked inside a fortress of fear. The mask is gone. In the final stage, Any charm they once had is completely worn away. What's left is the raw, unfiltered disorder. The cruelty is out in the open. Music, the selfishness is complete. They don't even try to hide who they are anymore. They exist as pure impulse, screaming, "I want," into the void. It is disturbing to watch, and it proves what everyone finally sees. There was never a good side, only a very convincing costume. Yeah, the collapse ends with them locked inside their own mind. They are stuck with memories of a life wasted on shallow pursuits. There are no warm memories of real connection, only trophies of conquests. And conquests don't keep you warm when the darkness comes in. Here's the final truth. The narcissist's life was a terrible investment. They bet everything on the physical, the temporary, the surface. They sold their soul short for quick hits of pleasure. Now the market has corrected. You, the survivor, might feel like you lost years to music, them. But look at where you are now. You are growing. You are healing. You have depth. They are pellet. They are music, stuck, rotting in shallow water. That is poetic justice. You don't need revenge. You don't need to expose them. Their punishment is being themselves. Their punishment is being themselves. Their punishment is music waking up every day in a body they hate with a mind that cannot love. That sentence is harsher than anything you could have done to them. You were the supply that got away. Whether you left or they discarded you and you rebuilt, you got off the Titanic. If you had stayed, you'd now be the nursemaid, the punching bag, the target of their poison. You didn't just dodge a bullet, you survived major surgery. The breakup pain was the pain of cutting out a tumor. You are cancer-free. Accept that they are miserable. Accept that they will not change. Accept that their happiness online is a show. Happy people don't need to perform. Miserable music people do. Don't envy the performance. Feel sorry for the backstage reality. Don't fall for pity hovers. If they pop up now, playing the fragile elder, remember the wolf? The wolf may have lost its teeth, but it hasn't lost its music nature. Put your hand in the cage and it will still try to bite. Keep the door locked. Your empathy belongs to people who earn it, not to parasites who drained you. Shift how you see the cost. Music, the price they paid for lust, was everything that actually mattered. They bought sex and gave up love. They bought attention and lost respect. They grabbed moments and threw away a lifetime. You now have the chance to spill what they threw away. You can create connection, peace, and a real legacy. You are the rich one here. Your aging will be graceful because you have a soul. You will grow into wisdom. Your rid ankles will be maps of a life lived honestly, not behind masks. You will be surrounded by people who love your heart, not your usefulness. The narcissist fades. The empathic grows. Let go of needing an apology. You will never get one. Real apologies need a conscience. Give yourself closure by accepting the truth. They already live in their own private hell. You don't need to go there. You have your own heaven to build, far away from the wreckage. Don't look back. There is nothing there but dust and echoes. You survived the storm. You learned the hidden truth. You are stronger, wiser, and free. The curse is on them. The narcissist is bankrupt in every way. But you are infinite. You are real. You are whole. Close the book on their story and start writing the beautiful chapters of your own. Stay strong. Stay no contact and keep walking toward the life you are meant to live.